All cancer patients have extremely low vitamin D levels. I don't put sunscreen on my body anymore. In 2014, in the midst of going through menopause, I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. And it was one of those things that caught me really off guard. It even caught my doctor off guard. He's like, "You're not a man, you're not overweight, you don't drink, you don't smoke." But I ended up with esophageal cancer. And when he called me in to talk to me about that, he said, "You have dangerously low vitamin D levels." And he said, all cancer patients have extremely low vitamin D levels. So during that time, I started to think about why, besides the fact that I had been on steroids, why else would my immune system be so low? And with the whole vitamin D thing, I thought, well, yeah, you sit in a car and you drive to work, and then you sit in an office and you sit in meetings and you sit and do emails, and then you get in your car and you sit and drive home, and then you go in your house and you cook dinner and you sit, and by the time you could go out, it's dark. And I wasn't getting out in the sunlight, and I wasn't feeling good. And if you look at pictures of me in the past, I looked really tired, bloated. I didn't look healthy. And it's one of those things that kind of shocked me into reality, saying, well, what would actually bring my immune system up? And after doing some research, I realized it was one of the most important things was vitamin D. And as we age, we have a harder time converting vitamin D that's made through our skin naturally from the sun and getting that converted. So what does that mean for me and you? That means we're going to need to spend a little more time in the sun and or taking some sort of supplementation, because vitamin D is extremely important for mood, for our joint health, for our hormone health, especially now that we are producing less estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. All of these hormones all work together in harmony. And when they all start going out of balance, it's like that Jenga. You pull one out and things start getting wobbly till maybe they all fall. And vitamin D is a big part of that. It is a big hormone. It's technically a hormone that we produce through our skin to help us with our immune function and everything. So how do we fix all of that? Well, you kind of have to understand kind of the mechanism of it, number one. So vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, which means you need fat to be able to absorb it and make it work, but you also need the fat to be able to store that vitamin D for later use. Fat cells don't just store fat. They store vitamins, minerals, toxins, all kinds of things, and that is going to be able to be broken down later for us to be able to use. So if you think about animals, they eat a lot, like bears and all kinds of animals eat a lot during the summer, and they fatten themselves up. They're out in the vitamin D and they're getting the sunlight. And then when they're hibernating, they take those fat cells, melt them down, use them to get the nutrition they need to be able to survive a dark winter where there's less food, less sun, etc. We don't really do that anymore. We tend to just keep getting fat, and then we don't really use it in the winter. We tend to just keep getting fatter. So even though you might be storing some vitamin D in your fat, you're not actually losing the weight to actually get to the vitamin D and things like that. So it's really important that we think about supplementation, especially in the winter and maybe even in the summer. So if you're someone who can't get out or you burn really easily, you have to think about how to have safe sun exposure. I try to do it safely. What I try to do is I swim or do aqua fitness 3 days a week from 9 to like 10:30. I walk to the pool, I do my fitness, I walk back, and I make sure that I'm exposed with no sunscreen during those earlier hours. And if I go out in my garden, which I go on most every morning out in my garden, I try to go out so that I'm exposed to some sun early in the morning. And in the mid-afternoon from like noon to 2, probably I'm in the house not doing as much. I'll take a walk after lunch, make sure my arms and legs are exposed, but I never sit out in the sun. I'm bored. I have like ADD. I can't do that anyway, but I just don't go out and sit and bake in the sun or anything. But I do now go out and make sure that I get vitamin D. I don't use sunscreen. I'm going to say it. That's not true. I use sunscreen on my face, a physical sunscreen, because I have rosacea. It does kind of get exacerbated by being out in the sun a bit. So I do use that because I also get those dark spots. So I do use a physical sunscreen on my face, but I don't put sunscreen on my body anymore. I know there's going to be people who say, oh my God, you're going to get skin cancer. Yeah, maybe. I might. But I already had cancer, and I got that from not being in the sun. I noticed that since I've done that, my mood really improves. I don't know if you notice that in the summer, we're all happier. We tend to be out more in the sun and we're doing things. And in the winter, it's when you get sick. It's when I feel tired, fatigued. I have more achy joints. I have drier skin, all of that. And even though I am in a pool 3 days a week, a couple hours at a time, I don't have that dry skin as much anymore. I just tend to have more, I think, of the vitamin D that is coming in and is actually helping my skin. So that is something, again, I don't bake, but I get out there and get some days. You can see I'm already a little bit darker skin, but I have a tan, and I don't wear that necessarily as a badge of honor, but I kind of have dark skin, and whenever I'm out in the sun, I just kind of get a little bit dark. But I do wear that as saying, yes, I do go out in the sun without any sunscreen on. Number one, I don't want all those chemicals in my body. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. The less stuff you can put on it is probably the better. So I'm not a body lotion person. I don't use body lotion ever. I have not used body lotion in 6 years on my body, and my skin is no longer dry. It's probably a whole nother video to do, but I don't use any body lotion. I don't use any sunscreen. If I'm going to be out in the sun, in a blazing sun, I will wear a cover up or something, but yeah, I do not put sunscreen on my body. And the other thing I do not do is I do not wear sunglasses hardly at all, unless I'm driving. I really don't wear sunglasses a lot because they've done some research showing that if you wear sunglasses, it tricks your brain into thinking that you are not in the sun. I'm thinking, why would I want my brain to think I'm in the shade if I'm out in the sun? So that signal from the sunlight coming into my eyes lets my body know, hey, you better produce some melanin because this body is out in the sunlight. And I don't put sunscreen on for that same exact reason, is my body is, again, absorbing all these chemicals and blocking the sunlight that I need to be able to create vitamin D. As women enter menopause and our hormones are shifting, we actually become a little less efficient at converting vitamin D into something usable through our bodies. And part of that is just hormone related. And a part of it is we're just not out in the sun as much as we used to be. A lot of us are indoors a lot. So these things are so important because vitamin D regulates your bone health, your immune function, your mood, many things that just help us get through our everyday lives. And since as menopausal women, we have a harder time with that, we need to make sure that we're getting adequate amount, either through sunlight or supplementation or both. And this is what I do to help me get through all of this. Normal vitamin D levels that are optimal are between 50 and 80 nanograms per milliliter. And there's a special test, I think, called 25 hydroxy vitamin D, which is a test your doctor can perform to find out what your levels are. If you are lower than that, it becomes insufficient. All the way down to under 20 becomes dangerously low because you're just not able to do the bodily functions you need. So it's something that I think you should just talk to your doctor about getting tested for and find out some of the ways you can start to up those levels of vitamin D. They're probably going to caution you about, being out in the sun all the time. And I do understand that you don't want to just sit out in the sun and bake like a turkey out there, but you do want to go out, be out in the sun. Think about in nature what we would do. We would be out gathering and hunting and doing things out in the sun. So getting out there in the sun and in the midday when it's really hot, being like, yeah, no, I don't want to be out there. I'm going to go in the shade now and rest and doing those kind of things. So maybe the midday sun may not be perfect for someone who especially has fairer skin, but if you have darker skin, you're going to need more sun exposure because the melanin's kind of, preventing that exposure from converting that vitamin D. So the darker the skin, the longer you need to be out there. Can vitamin D become toxic? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you are someone who supplements with vitamin D in the form of drops or tablets or whatever, you can have too much vitamin D. Most of the time when you are going to be going out in the sun and getting your vitamin D, you are not going to reach those toxic levels. Your body just won't do that. It'll shut it down on its own. It's mostly only when you're taking a oral dose of it that you would have a problem. So in that case, you'd want to be careful, but get tested, know where you're at. If you're already at somewhere like 50 or 60, you may not need to supplement at all and just need a little sunlight. But if you're really low like I was, I did both sunlight and supplementation, and I feel so much better after doing that. I hope this video helps you understand the importance of vitamin D, especially as a menopausal woman. Again, we have a harder time making it. So again, get tested, talk to your doctor about your optimum levels, about supplementation, but most of all, get out and enjoy that beautiful sunshine and make your own vitamin D. I hope this video was helpful to you. And if it was, could you do me a favor and give me a thumbs up? And if you like my videos, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I put out another video. Until the next time, remember to juice life, drink the joy, keep life simple. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.